Hello, everyone, and welcome to BricsCAD Discovery Days. I'm Don, and with me, my colleagues Julie and Robert will be on stage today, and Anna Maria will be standing by to answer your questions. Today, we're going to work to show you just how familiar BricsCAD can be to an AutoCAD user. I'll kick it off. Julie will then take the screen and introduce you to the overall user interface of the software. Then we'll hand it to Robert, and he'll take us home with a great detailed demonstration of the compatibility, learnability, and ease of administration of the BricsCAD product family. First off, who is Bricsys? We are a global provider of computer-aided design, building information modeling, mechanical design, and cloud-based common data environment products, and those are brought to market under the BricsCAD and Bricsys 24/7 brands. We're a part of Hexagon AB, a 20,000 person strong global technology company, but Bricsys, prior to the acquisition by Hexagon, was a standalone company that's nearly 20 years young. We have users in 110 countries. Our headquarters is located in Ghent, Belgium, and the Bricsys division has 200 plus employees spread across 8 countries. With the power of Hexagon, we're here to solve engineering technical problems for you and offer a family of CAD products that is not only familiar, but is also cost effective. BricsCAD is a family of CAD products. The cost-effective alternatives to the popular CAD, LTCAD, BIM, and mechanical products that you probably use today. So why would you choose BricsCAD? Well, first, it's quite affordable, but we'll talk more about that in a moment. Probably even more important, BricsCAD is highly user interface and user experience compatible with AutoCAD from Autodesk, and therefore, it is eminently learnable. BricsCAD is also very flexible. We offer license types that our competitors have simply abandoned. And after the demonstration by Julie, Robert will tell you a lot more about how easy it is to deploy and manage BricsCAD in your company. So, imagine 2D, 3D, BIM, and MCAD in a single product. That's the product that we call BricsCAD Ultimate. When you download the 30-day free trial of BricsCAD, you get BricsCAD Ultimate. Everything's in a single package. When you buy, your license code enables your edition of BricsCAD. So you only have to download once and you're ready to go. You can convert your trial at any point to a production key by simply entering a license code. And it's all backed up by Bricsys 24/7, our cloud-based collaboration and data storage environment. Now, one of the questions that we get quite often is, if the trial is BricsCAD Ultimate, how can I try Classic or Pro or Platinum or Mechanical or BIM? And it's really quite easy. Inside of BricsCAD, you can set the edition during the trial with the run as level command. Very simple to type in run. That's all you need to do. You can auto-complete the rest of the command, and you have the ability to change the license level for your trial product. Now, you can do this even with a valid commercial license. You can only, of course, go to the top of your current license setting. You can always go down if you wish, but it's very easy to set in the trial. All you have to do is invoke the command, choose the license level you wish. The product will come back and say, new license level will be in use after a restart, which takes just a few seconds. And the current edition of BricsCAD will show on the title bar of the application, so you always know which one you're running. We do this so that you have the ability to see just what the right edition of BricsCAD is for your needs and which commands you need to complete your daily workflows. Now, we talked a few moments ago about affordability. Let's take a look at a graphical depiction of just how affordable BricsCAD is versus the industry standard AutoCAD. Now, I'm showing manufacturer's suggested retail price in US dollars. Your mileage may vary a bit. Let's talk about that price. The cost of a BricsCAD Pro perpetual license is $850.
63,000 rupees. And it's 15,000 rupees a year for maintenance or AMC.
That maintenance enables you to get not only the minor updates and releases of BricsCAD, but also the next major release. And by the way, you'll want it because the new features and workflows that are available in each new version of BricsCAD are just amazing. Still, maintenance is optional. It's your choice. And that perpetual license will run as long as your computer and operating system can support it. You can see the price build out over 3 years and the total price at the top. Now, if you wish to subscribe to BricsCAD Pro, you can do that too. We want to give our customers all the options that make sense for them. And in some corporate expense environments, it makes sense to rent software. And if it does, we'll make it possible for you. You have to know that subscription cost is a little bit higher, but subscription licenses are on maintenance, so everything's included, and you'll get the next upgrade as long as your maintenance subscription continues. Sorry, as long as your product subscription continues. Didn't mean to be confusing. All this talk about subscriptions, look at that. Again, the manufacturer's suggested retail price for AutoCAD 2021 on named user subscription. There are 3 conclusions we can draw from this graph. First, you can buy a copy of BricsCAD Pro perpetual license for less than 1 year of AutoCAD with maintenance. The cost of BricsCAD maintenance year over year is about 15% the cost of a year of AutoCAD. And that in itself is really amazing because you'll get all of the new features of each major release. Finally, over 3 years, BricsCAD Pro perpetual licenses on maintenance cost less than the cost of a single year of AutoCAD subscription at MSRP. But that's not all. We like to say your licenses, your way, your choice. Perpetual licenses live on at Bricsys because our customers tell us these are very important licensing options. As you saw in the prior slide, if you wish to subscribe, we make it easy and affordable. We want to support what's right for your business model. Now, this is something that's quite unique in the industry. A single BricsCAD license, be it a subscription or a perpetual license, supports any language in any location. You don't have to ask our privilege or our permission, sorry, you don't have to ask our permission to use your BricsCAD license in a different locale. And we won't charge you extra for the privilege either, like our competition. Finally, customers tell us that without network licensing, especially in this new environment that many vendors are going to named user, this idea of supplying licenses for part-time CAD users becomes exceptionally expensive. You know, Autodesk is offering 2 licenses for each network license that you turn in. You get 2 named user licenses for each network user license that you turn in. But Robert will tell you later in a real world scenario just how many users typically have access to one of those network licenses. It certainly is more than 2. And to support more than 2, you're going to have to pay for additional licenses. Not with BricsCAD. Network multi-user or single key volume multi-user licenses are available. You choose the mix. We're here because of you, and we feel that our license offerings reflect our customer centricity. We want you to be successful with BricsCAD. But hey, I'm in marketing, so don't believe me. Take it from one of our customers. Here's what Risto Guntev, the managing director of Prototype, an architectural facade manufacturer with 85 licenses of BricsCAD says. And I quote, if you're an engineer who is used to working in 2D. It's much easier to start working in 3D with BricsCAD than with any other tool because you can just follow the same intuitive pattern. And that's what it's all about. This idea of a familiar user interface, but just as important, if not more importantly, a familiar user experience. Are there differences between AutoCAD and BricsCAD? Why, of course, we certainly wouldn't want to copy them directly. But the idea is that the muscle memory that your users have allow current AutoCAD users to move to BricsCAD pretty much on a lunch break. And Robert can tell you more about his lunch and learn story. But AutoCAD users can be comfortable in an hour and proficient in an afternoon. The high compatibility is the key. The user interface is the key, but just as importantly, keyboard shortcuts, menus, list routines, sheet sets, templates, and of course your drawing files are all highly compatible. BricsCAD is an all-in-one CAD platform. Start in 2D, move to 3D, BIM or mechanical design without relearning your foundation. So let's get started. I'm going to invite my colleague, Julie Kavarian, to the stage. She is going to take you through the BricsCAD user experience in a short demonstration. Julie, I'm going to switch you over. You have the presenter token.
So first of all, let me show you that I am running the BricsCAD Pro Edition, as Don explained. Now, one of the most compelling points, I think, about migrating to BricsCAD doesn't involve migration at all because BricsCAD uses DWGs. So just load your files right in. There's no migrating, there's no translating, there's no importing. It really is just that simple. Now down here we see the familiar model space and paper space tabs, and along with the ribbon up at the top, and also the menu bar, and of course toolbars, lots and lots of toolbars. These are all familiar and similar to what you've been using today. And your dockable panels by default are displayed along the right side edge. So you've got properties and layers, customized tool palettes, and our 24/7 cloud service and more. And your standard command line is at the bottom of the window where you'd expect it to be. And that can be popped out so it floats. And those layout tabs, well, they work just how you know they do. And right below the standard command line is the familiar status bar with all the settings that you already know. This is also where you can access the BricsCAD workspaces and the customization menus. Now, your command names and aliases and system variables, they're all the same in BricsCAD. The autocomplete feature is what you're seeing here, completes your typing for you and even suggests commands based on what you type. Add your muscle memory to this and you will be up and running in no time with BricsCAD. Dimensioning is the same in BricsCAD as it is in AutoCAD. And with the floating command line, your command options are clickable with your mouse. No typing required. And any customized dimension styles, those can be saved to a template and then brought directly into BricsCAD. And you'll also want to bring along all of the blocks that you've created over the years because they work the same way too. Also, don't forget to bring those printer setups, plotter configurations, and page layouts. Creating your output in BricsCAD is also familiar and similar. Now, Robert will be showing you just how easy it is to bring all of these settings over, because why should you have to redo work when you've already done it? Now, let's take a look at the PDF I just created, and that looks good. If you prefer, though, to customize BricsCAD, you'll find the customization tools are also very familiar. Everything from your sheet sets to your templates and more. And templates, they're created the same way too. Save your DWG as a DWT and you're done. And by the way, BricsCAD makes it easy to save your drawing to other file versions and types. Finally, to make changes to the ribbon, to the menu, to the toolbars, etc., simply type CUI at the command line to access the customization menu. Okay, now I will pass the screen over to Robert Green, Director of Implementation for Bricsys.
All right, screen to monitor 2, and away we go. Thank you for attending. Thanks, Julie. Great show and tell on the interface of BricsCAD and just the familiarity of it, and nice intro, Don. So thank you both, and thank you everyone for hanging around. In my role as Director of Implementation, it's my job to make sure that companies have a smooth transition into BricsCAD from your existing system, which in all honesty, quite a lot of people use AutoCAD. So that's the most common scenario that we see. The other thing is I'm the CAD management author and contributing editor for Catalyst magazine. So this CAD management implementation thing is something that's near and dear to my heart. And I'd like to share some of the tips and tricks that we've developed over the past couple of years in hopes that you may have a positive experience as well. So let's go ahead and dive in. Let me tell you how I approach it. For me, migrating from system A to system B is all about making it as easy as possible, specifically for the users, because they're the ones that really have to change how they operate. My whole goal is going to be to make that migration as simple as possible by making BricsCAD absolutely as close as humanly possible to their existing system. I want to share with you how I do that, making the fewest mistakes so that I can get from AutoCAD to BricsCAD as fast as possible. My goal is to have a really fast, startling success so that users, management, everybody sees how quickly we can switch over to BricsCAD. This requires a strategy, my experience. You can, of course, just try to look around BricsCAD yourself and eventually you could figure it out, but why? When I could share with you an optimal strategy. So for me, it goes in this order: user familiarization, showing users how similar BricsCAD can be. And that is exactly what Julie showed. So I typically have a session, usually at a lunch break, where I get users to install BricsCAD on their laptop, and we go through it and we just show them just how similar it is. Then I want to understand my licensing options and understand the financial benefit that BricsCAD can bring to me, and Don shared some of that with you in the introduction. Then I worry about migrating over all of the custom assets that I have built, usually in my AutoCAD environment over the years, because as Julie said, why start over? If you can bring those tools over and make BricsCAD run in just the same way, then users are going to like that. Then I worry about how to deploy the software tool and some tips and tricks for learning. And I will tell you that my main trick for learning is don't make them learn anything. Make BricsCAD look so much like their existing system that training is negated. Here's my conclusion point. Success with migration is not an accident. It is a strategy-based planning system. You plan the work and then you work the plan. So if you use this approach, I think you'll achieve success. It's worked for us so far. Now, the methodology that I use is I run AutoCAD and BricsCAD in parallel. So while AutoCAD is still installed and running, I want to analyze all of the peripherals that it uses, all of the customization that it uses, and I want to take that over to BricsCAD and see it run in the same way. So this means I'm going to have to establish network folders for BricsCAD. I'm going to have to copy assets over. I'm going to have to migrate the customization over. I'm going to have to copy the peripherals, things like plotters and plotter configurations. And I want to do this in a way to where I migrate over only the most current materials, only the most current configurations, the most current blocks, the most current page setups, etc. And I want to clean out all of the old stuff that's no longer required. So I'm always looking to get that minimum migration. This will allow me to test BricsCAD while the old system is still running. Therefore, I know that I have a production-ready system so that when the AutoCAD subscription expires, you can simply turn it off and BricsCAD keeps right on running. That's my goal, and that's how we try to manage it with customers. So notice that I said migrate the minimum. What I mean here is to clean, to diligently clean as you go. I want to eliminate backup files, old programs we're not using anymore, old file folders that are full of old stuff that we don't use anymore, old blocks, old palettes, old CUIs, anything that is just junk, garbage. Let's not bring that over into BricsCAD. Let's get a nice clean start. So I usually say migrate the minimum, clean everything and migrate only the minimum amount of information that you need to make BricsCAD work. Now, we put this into play. One of the best case studies that I've worked on so far has been with Subsea 7. I worked with them at their Aberdeen, Scotland office, which you see there at the bottom picture, and in their Houston office, which you see at the top. We did quite a large migration from AutoCAD to BricsCAD. Don't believe me, listen to what their CAD manager Lee Connors is going to tell you. I'll let you read that, but what is most impressive here is that they were able to support over 1,000 users with 200 network licenses. This is a 5-to-1 user to license ratio, 5-to-1, not 2-to-1, like Autodesk is imposing with their new policy. And the second thing I'm most proud of is we got BricsCAD set up so close to what their users were already used to that they were able to push this out over their network with no additional training. So remember I said before, what's the best way to approach training? The best way to approach training is not to need it. By setting BricsCAD up so cleanly that it's just straightforward for users to hop on and use. So this was a great case study. It was an absolute pleasure working with them and was really great to get such a fantastic result. Let me reiterate something that I just said about the licensing. Network licensing, which allows 1,000 users in Subsea 7's case to work from a 200 license pool. This is called network multi-user licensing, and we still have it. Autodesk is eliminating it. As of August 7 this year, at your next renewal, you will no longer be able to keep your network licensing. But at BricsCAD, we will let you use network licenses. So this is going to be a great financial benefit for you, besides the cost advantage that we already have. I get questions from CAD managers quite a lot. Tell me about the licensing mechanism. We use the Reprise License Manager. This allows us to have floating perpetual licenses and floating subscription licenses. It's very easy to install. It's very firewall friendly. It goes on virtually any server or virtual machine that you like inside of your office. We can set up redundant or failover servers, and perhaps most importantly, all the reporting output and user statistics produced by Reprise are FlexLM data compatible. So if you have FlexLM based reporting tools or something that you've built yourself, those files will still be readable. So not only are we able to easily migrate your software, we're also very, very straightforward in terms of migrating your licensing approach. Okay. These licenses, as Don said, they work anywhere with any language version. So long as your user can see the Reprise License Manager server, it will work. So enough said there. Now, one of the things that we like to say is that if you can use AutoCAD, you can use BricsCAD because we're so familiar. Here's why. We're command compatible. So if you're like me and you sit on the keyboard and you say M spacebar, that means move. And in BricsCAD, you're going to get move, or L spacebar means line. Or if you type in DDATTE, you're going to get the dialog attribute editor. So all the commands are the same. The keystrokes are the same. The interface is organized in a way that is super similar. so that everything is about where you would expect it to be, and all the icons are logically placed in the order in which you're already used to. So we try to be as compatible as possible. So if we're command compatible and interface compatible, the only thing we have to do now is bring over your custom tools so that we're custom tool compatible as well. If you can key in everything like you expect, if you can select everything graphically on the screen like you expect, if you can use the custom tools like you expect, then we will in fact be muscle memory compatible, and your user will simply start using BricsCAD. This cuts our training curve down to hours, not days, not weeks, truly hours, not kidding. Go back to that quote from Lee at Subsea 7. So they were able to configure this in a way that really did not require user training. Now, what do I mean when I say bring over your custom tools? I mean elements from your CUI files. So this is ribbons, toolbars, menus, tool palettes, AutoLisp utilities, bringing over your sheet sets, DWG files, not only your drawing files that you work on, but blocks, templates that contain page setups, plotter configurations. This is all the custom content that you have spent years building and optimizing. And at BricsCAD, we're going to bring that over so that you continue to reap the benefit of that development. You do not have to start over. So we're going to jump in here and look around in some live software, which I'll drive you through. And the first thing that we're going to look at is figuring out where your AutoCAD assets are located. We'll do that with the options command. And then we'll go over to BricsCAD and take a look at our version of the options command, which is called settings. And we'll see what types of folders we find, and we'll go ahead and make a setup in BricsCAD to utilize the same type of folder structure. So let's go ahead and go to a demo here. And the first thing I'll do is show you AutoCAD. So here we are, and I will use the options command. Now, this interface is tabular, so you kind of have to know what it is you're looking for and where to go find it. But for the most part, I'm looking in the Files tab, and I'm looking at the Support File Search Path, because that tends to be where everything gets initialized from and where Lisp routines are loaded from, etc. So we can see here immediately that this client has set up a network Z drive, and they have an AutoCAD support folder, and that seems to be where everything is coming from. So let's have a look at that. Here we go. And we see that sure enough, there's support there now. Look though, there's a Lisp folder, there's a Lisp backup folder, there's an extra backup folder, there's backups of the supports. This is the example of what I meant when I said clean house, please. Get rid of the additional folders and things. So when we migrate over, I'm going to get rid of some of this stuff. Now, I've taken the liberty of doing this and creating a BricsCAD folder already with a support directory in it. And I've copied over the files that I found in AutoCAD there. There's some Lisp utilities, a PGP, some CUI files, etc. So I've gone ahead and done this for you. Let's go ahead and look in BricsCAD and see how we can get things set up. Now, if you type in options in BricsCAD, we're going to take you into settings. So we actually perform a command alias, and that takes you, so you can type options, you can type OP, whatever you're used to typing, work the same way here. Immediately we notice that settings does not look like options. It's not a tabular graphical interface. It is an indented hierarchical structure that is searchable. So if I want to look at something like the support file search path, I just key that in here, support file search path. But you have to spell it correctly. There, support file search path. Here it is. And we're going to have to add that Z drive, BricsCAD support, like so. Now I will push it to the top of the list using the arrow controls, and this should seem very familiar. If you've used the options control in AutoCAD, then I will simply say OK, and we see that this has been added. So now we're going to start loading in files automatically. Now, one more thing though, on it just as a little show and tell example, somebody here has changed the background color for the model space tab, which drives me nuts. So let's see whether we can go find that. I'm going to type in background color. Now we see that there's a few places, like there's a hatch background color. No, that's not what I want. There's a shading background color, not what I want. There's a text fill color, not what I want. Background color, here it is. Now, notice something. As soon as I click away from here, see how that variable has been reset to a different color. This is something that is really slick in this dialog box. Anytime I see something that has changed color like this, it means the user has manipulated this setting. So this tells me exactly where the user has been in and what they've done. They've changed it away from the default color of black. So I can put it back the way I found it. But that's an excellent asset for debugging user machines. So a little bit of a guided tour into support there. Let's hop back to the PowerPoint and continue. So now that we have created a support folder, we're going to take a look at some of the Lisp files that we found in there and get that correctly configured. So we're going to have to do some renaming, maybe a little bit of cleaning and a titch of editing. So I'm going to show you how that works. Now there are some key file names that are worth noting here, like ACAD PGP becomes default PGP. Our default CUI is called default. ACAD LSP becomes on start. ACAD doc LSP becomes on doc load. Why did we do this? Well, we don't want two files with totally different functionalities with the same name. We don't ever want the BricsCAD files to get confused with your AutoCAD files. And the ACAD LSP and ACAD doc LSP had a virus, kind of an interesting virus behavior several years back, where those files could be automatically replicated. And by renaming away from that standard, we not only get no file collisions, but we sidestep that problem as well. So some of the reasons why we have a few default file names. So when we migrate the Lisp, we're going to have to do a rename. I want to show you how you can load and look and examine your code. And all we have to do is really restart BricsCAD just to verify. Some of the watchouts, pathing. If you have something in your program that's an AutoCAD specific folder, well, someday AutoCAD is not going to be there. So if you leave that AutoCAD path in the file, you're going to have problems because it's going to be looking for a folder that's not there. So we'd like to look for those types of things and change them over to our BricsCAD folder. Let's see how that's done. So we'll go over to BricsCAD, just be a live demo here. And remember how we set up the settings folder. That was the Z drive BricsCAD settings. Well, how would we load in Lisp code from there? Well, the first way we could do it is we could do appload. And this command also exists in AutoCAD. So it's real straightforward. You just do an add, you navigate into the folder where you want to find things like a Lisp folder, and you can load the file just like this. You can load it into memory this way. And if you want it to automatically load every time you start BricsCAD, you click auto load. And this column is very much like the startup suite in AutoCAD. So equivalent functionality here. I'll go ahead and close that. You can also use Blade. Now this is like VLIDE. And this allows you to actually use a development environment, which includes a programmer's editor you see here. Parenthesis matching, automatic function matching. This is powerful, really is. And it also allows you to perform operations like compiles, embed DCL code, and make bundled solutions. So if you're a developer, if you do custom work at all, you will probably spend some time in Blade. So I wanted to make sure that we saw that. Now, another way, of course, that you can manipulate Lisp and have it load is by doing it from the automatic loading behavior, which in AutoCAD is ACAD LSP. But I told you that that needs to be renamed on underbar start. So I'll just rename it. Again, we're in the BricsCAD support folder here. So we renamed it on start. Let's open that in a text editor. And I slide it over from the other screen. So we see here, they're loading it from an AutoCAD specific path. That's not what we want. We want it to come from a BricsCAD path. Like so. Everything here looks good. And we do not want to say the ACAD LSP has loaded. We want to say on start has loaded. Save our changes. And that's it. The next time BricsCAD starts up, this will load in and run automatically. So that is a good example of how to approach or deal with migration of code. Back to the PowerPoint. Continuing along. Another thing that we're very used to having in our environment, our AutoCAD environments typically, is tool palettes, because this is a very excellent way to deploy blocks. Users simply drag and drop from it. They don't need to know all the mechanics of what's going on. It's just easy to use. So my workflow here is I will export the palette from AutoCAD as an XTP file. I will keep those XTPs so that I can edit them or post-process them later if required. And then I will import those into BricsCAD. So what I'm going to do now is just walk you through that process. So into AutoCAD real quick. Let's dismiss this. And over here, we see our tool palettes. Now, in this particular case, the customer has one for fitness equipment. They use this to drag and drop fitness equipment to create a playground or something like that outside the building. Let's customize this. Customize palettes. Select the fitness palette, right-click, export. We see that it will create a fitness.xtp. And I've gone ahead and taken the liberty of exporting that out into our BricsCAD folder just to save a little bit of time. So we will go over into BricsCAD and see how the import process works. So here we go into the palette window. We simply right-click, customize. We go into the palettes window, right-click, import. And I've got a palettes XTP folder right here where the fitness palette was exported, along with all of the bitmaps and things that are in this subfolder. So I'll simply click this and import it. And it comes, dismiss this box, and here's the fitness dialog, or tool palette rather. We can look at the properties of any one of the tools and see that everything we would expect, scale, rotation, auto explosion, everything that you would expect is still there. All the general controls are still there. And the hard-coded path for the file is shown here. So if you wanted to take these blocks that are being inserted from this palette and locate them to somewhere other than the C drive, you could certainly do so, but you would need to go edit the XTP file to change those paths. And then you could simply re-import the tool palette. So it's a pretty straightforward way to do it. That's why I use the XTP structure, because it's ASCII editable and I keep one per palette. So I do find this to be the ideal workflow. It's not the only way to do it, but as far as I'm concerned, it's the best way to do it. Continuing on, CUI files. Here is where we've encountered things like ribbon tabs and drop-down menus and toolbars. And this is something that users depend on. It's part of their user interface. They expect it to be there. So how are we going to do this? Well, again, I have a recommended workflow here. What I do is I open the CUI file in AutoCAD. I find the custom elements, only the custom elements that we want to bring over, and I put those into their own CUI file, which I call custom-only.cui. I do this using the AutoCAD CUI commands transfer tab, and this allows me to bring over only the custom elements that I need into BricsCAD. Remember when I said migrate the minimum? So this is the best way to do that. Let me walk you through that workflow, and it will become apparent as I walk you through it. So into AutoCAD, CUI command. Here we see by scrolling down into menus and toolbars that we've got some custom elements here. And our mission, our goal is to get that into BricsCAD. So I will use the transfer tab. This creates a brand new empty CUI file on the right-hand tab. Therefore, I can go here into menus and simply drag the custom menu into the menu group. I can go into the toolbars, grab the custom toolbar and drag that into the toolbars group. If that's all I'm going to migrate, I'm done. All I need to do is save. And this will save to custom-only.cuix. Now, again, I've taken the liberty of exporting this already to save some steps. So let's see how that works over on the BricsCAD side of the equation. Over here, we use the CUI command again, just the same. And we go here, File, Load Partial CUI. Here I have the custom-only CUI that I built a moment ago in AutoCAD. So I will open it. Now, this brings in the toolbar we see here and the pull-down menu up top, which we'll be able to use once I dismiss the menu. So as you can see, it was smart enough to automatically paste it into your active workspaces. You can see that this was added into menus, this was added into toolbars, and you're getting an idea how our CUI dialog editor works. It's tabular rather than an indented long scrollable function. It's tabular. So it does look a little bit different, but it's very straightforward to use. If you can use the AutoCAD CUI editor, you can use this straight away. So I will say okay. And the worst thing that may happen is, and it did happen, is that your toolbars can sometimes go over onto screen 1 because I like to use screen 2, my big monitor for CAD. So I had to scoot it back over. But that's it. That's what's involved with migrating things over from CUIs. That's my recommended workflow. Okay, so we'll go past that. Let's look at migrating over the plotter configuration, and we can also talk a little bit about using the profile manager. And this way we'll be able to not only copy and share printer configurations, but also ARG files so that when we get our first BricsCAD machine set up, it will be easy to clone those settings over to other BricsCAD machines. So let's have a look at those. Go ahead and jump in. We go to AutoCAD. AutoCAD has a command, as does BricsCAD, called Plotter Manager. And this brings up the active folder with all of your plot configurations. Now, one of them that I've built is my custom PDF plotter capture. This one right here. I want to take that into BricsCAD. So I'm simply going to do a direct copy and paste of this file. Remember, this is just a configuration file. This isn't a driver or anything proprietary. So there's no problem with copying this file over into BricsCAD. So right-click, copy. Now we go into BricsCAD. We will execute the Plotter Manager command here, and this brings up our plotting window here. I will now simply paste, and that driver comes in. Now I don't want it to say custom ACAD PDF plotter capture. I want it to say custom BricsCAD. PDF capture. Okay, there it is. And if we now plot from within BricsCAD, let's see whether it's there. And sure enough, it is. So that is just how difficult it is to bring your plotters over. And if you're like me, getting plotters configured correctly, it's kind of painful. So the fact that I never have to restart, I can simply copy and paste over, piece of cake. And the last piece of the equation is to use the Profile Manager like this. And this simply allows you to take all of the settings that we've been manipulating and create an external ARG file, just like AutoCAD. And then you can use Profile Manager to import those settings on another machine. So just like you're used to, only the dialog box looks a little different. All right, back to PowerPoint, and we'll wrap up here pretty quick. So one of the things that I like to talk about as we exit from this part of the process, which is getting the software configured, is to make sure that everybody really considers the licensing and deployment flexibility here. As you've seen, we still allow you to have perpetual and network floating licenses. So you have much more flexibility here. And this is a time to really consider how you can leverage that and save a lot of money with BricsCAD. You can use subscriptions, perpetuals, and network license servers in combination. You can mix match, it doesn't matter. You could have one pool of network licenses in Tokyo, and you can have another one in London and another one in Chicago. However you really want it to be set up. From our point of view, it's your business, and our licensing model should help you solve your business problems. We don't want to create a business problem for you. We're going to make it easy for you to use any language version that we have. Just download BricsCAD in that language, and your licenses will run just the same. As long as your user can see the license server or see their license key, it will work. No extra charge, no contracts, no nonsense. It just works. We like to say one license for planet Earth, and that's accurate. It's really what it is. When we install, it is a complete silent installer. There will be no hard stops for things like .NET updates. There will be no hard stops for verticals, like whether you're being asked whether you want to install Recap or other utilities like this. Since it is completely silent and never interrupts the command flow, it is very easy to push BricsCAD using SCCM or IT push technologies. Simple, low bandwidth consumption. It's fast because we're so tight and compact. There's no named user management for you to keep track of. Nobody has to sit there adding in user emails and license codes. You simply push it to the remote machine. Then the network license server kicks in. If you have an available network license, it runs. That's all there is to it. It's just that simple. And all this is in a single 417 megabyte installation file. That's it. All versions of BricsCAD are in there. So the worst possible case is that you may need a different license code if you update it later to BIM or Mechanical or Ultimate. That's it. It's the most straightforward CAD program to administer and deploy that I've ever worked with, and I've been doing this 28 years. So let me wrap up by saying it's really easy to replace your AutoCAD with BricsCAD. I think the fact that I could show you in 35 minutes how to migrate over illustrates that. BricsCAD represents substantial cost savings, flexibility. It's a better system. It is. But don't believe me, download it for yourself. Work with us, we'll help you. We'll help you to see how efficient and effective this tool is. So to do that, you're going to need to download it. And to go over that and impart a few closing thoughts, I'm going to hand it back over to Don. Back to you, sir.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Green. I really appreciate the time that both you and Julie spent to help our guests see just how easy it is to move to BricsCAD. We work hard to make it easy. Let's talk about what we saw today. just as a quick recap, and then we'll talk about that download. First off, you can see that BricsCAD is affordable. And, you know, again, we can only compare manufacturer's suggested retail price, but you can see the value proposition of BricsCAD. A lot of people say, how can you be so inexpensive? And our response to that is, why are they so expensive? We're not cheap, they're expensive. Keep that in mind next time you look at your bill from other software vendors. BricsCAD is highly compatible. Julie showed you the user interface and the commonality in that user interface. Robert showed you just how much of the overall user experience stays when you move to BricsCAD. And as he said, never throw away what you already know. Never spend time re-engineering solutions that you already have. If all of your support files, your templates, your menus, your palettes, your list routines all move over directly, that just gives you more time to work on new ideas and new projects and less time trying to migrate software. Because of all this, you can see it's totally possible to learn BricsCAD in a day or less. Really skilled AutoCAD users can move to BricsCAD over a lunch break and feel totally comfortable in a day. And of course, we're here to support you so we can help everybody understand those small differences. And by the way, we haven't even talked about the advanced features of BricsCAD. That'll come in future webinars, so hang in there. Robert and I both talked about license flexibility. By offering these license types, we support your business. And I think that Robert showed you quite well in 35 minutes how easy it is to deploy BricsCAD. So what are you waiting for? Let's get started. If you go to bricsys.com, in the upper right-hand corner of the web page, you'll see a blue link that says download. When you click on that link, you're faced with our single sign-on screen. A couple of choices here. If you've been to Bricsys before, you can simply log in with your existing account. If you're new and it's your first visit, you can register using one of these options: your email address, Facebook, Google, or LinkedIn credentials. We'll pick email address. You're almost there. We just ask for 2 pieces of information: your email address and a password. And there's some basic password rules there. Put that data in, fill out your credentials. When you press register, you'll now have access to the download page where you can download a full 30-day trial of BricsCAD Ultimate, the full commercial version. You install the product, takes about 2 minutes on today's machines, i5, i7 or above. And the first time BricsCAD starts, you'll see the launcher. Now that first time is a unique time because there are multiple options here. If you have a license key, of course, you can activate it. But if you want to try the 30-day trial, all you have to do is push Start Trial. And once you do, you can then access the drafting, modeling, mechanical, and BIM workspaces. Use the Run as Level command to change to the different editions. Now, many people ask about what is free shape. Well, BricsCAD Shape is a free ASIS-based solid modeler. It's a part of the installation package. At the end of 30 days, if you don't activate your BricsCAD trial with a valid license, the trial reverts to Shape and it remains on your machine as long as you want it to be there. It's a free 3D solid modeler. It's the same modeling engine that's in BricsCAD Platinum, BricsCAD Mechanical, and BricsCAD BIM. So we leave you something behind, and any given time in that life cycle, if you decide you want to upgrade that free shape to a BricsCAD license, just enter the code. It's that easy. Last thing before we close it up, there is in your client side window the ability to download the BricsCAD product brochure. It's an 8-page brochure. Tells you more about all of the products in the BricsCAD family of products and also shows you a comparison of the key features between the different editions. So 10 megabyte download, and it's right there on your GoToWebinar client. You can download it if you haven't already. During this process, if you have any questions or you need any assistance from us, please reach out. Try BricsCAD at Bricsys.com. That email address comes to a group of individuals inside of Bricsys, and we'll make sure we can get you answers quickly or get you in touch with a partner who can help you out, whatever it is that you need to stay successful. Thank you so much, everybody, for taking the time today. I want to thank Julie and Robert especially for the effort they've put in to this webinar series. We've touched thousands of customers, potential customers around the world with these webinars. Please invite your friends. You'll get a link from GoToWebinar as soon as the video is done processing. If you share that link with them, they can certainly watch the video recording of this webinar. We're glad you were here live. We want to thank you for that. And please tell everybody about BricsCAD. It's good for us, it's good for you, it's good for them. And that's a win-win-win if I remember correctly. Anyway, everybody, the world is a strange place today. Stay safe, take care of your people, and take care of people, because that's the best thing to do. From all of us at Bricsys, thank you so much for coming to see us. We'll see you again soon. Thanks.